Hugh Freeze said Jackson Arnold is the starter and there's no QB battle. How did Deuce Knight and Ashton Daniels probably feel about that? Welcome on into the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. I'm your host, Mike C, and thank you so much for making us your first listen of every day. Joining me as he does every single week is my good friend Jacob Goins, host of On the Line Sports Talk on ESPN 106.7. Jacob, it's the Gettins and Goins.
Yes,
Thursday.
back again. Back again.
Time to get going, talking a little Auburn football. I sat down with Coach Hugh Freeze earlier this week, and we talked QB. Asked him just straight up, hey, who's your starter come fall? It feels like it's a question every single offseason. We kind of reported on this. There was no QB battle, really. They brought Jackson Arnold to be here, the starter. This is someone who is known to Hugh Freeze. He remembers recruiting him out of high school. He thought he was a freak then. Before we get started, let's listen to what Coach Hugh Freeze had to say about his starter at QB come fall.
Is Jackson Arnold your starter?
He is. Yeah, he is. And it certainly is not Deuce Knight is going to be phenomenal. I believe
he had a great spring, too.
He had a great spring, and it was a joy working with him. He is one of the more accountable freshmen, no excuse making, wants to learn, wants you to coach him, and has a big-time arm and talent. But Jackson is, I think, the right move at this point for our program. I knew him out of high school. I thought he was freakish then. And, I just think he needed a reset to get him in a different environment that could restore his confidence.
Yeah.
And I think we took a big step toward that in the spring. And I love what I saw from him. He's got the legs to extend plays, and his arm can make every throw. And I think the receiving room helped him gain confidence. He kind of believed, man, if I put that ball in a 50-50 spot, my guys are going to make that play a large percentage of the time.
Interesting. He described Auburn as a place that could help Jackson Arnold restore his confidence, meaning his confidence was somewhat shook at Ole Miss. We all saw what happened there. They struggled mightily on offense. What do you think about the confidence of Jackson Arnold?
Yeah, that's really interesting to the fact that, and by the way, great job on that interview with him, by the way. It's interesting to hear that, Jackson Arnold was at Oklahoma. He was there. He was struggling because of everything around him, not because Jackson Arnold couldn't play. I mean, he was throwing to guys that were walk-ons basically in the receiver room. I mean, it was non-existent due to injuries and things like that. And so to hear Hugh Freeze talk about this idea of coming in for a reset and gaining confidence at Auburn, I think is a really big deal. And what I hope, Mike, is that can continue once the season begins. It's easy to have confidence in the spring. It's easy to feel good about yourself in the summer walking around when there's not a whole lot going on. But when foot hits the leather and the season begins on a Friday night in Waco, how confident will Jackson Arnold be? And I think he will be confident. And I think those receivers will give him confidence. I think the offensive line will help him. I think the running back room will help him. Play calling's got to help him. There's no doubt about that. That has to change from last year to this year. The quarterback has changed, but the game plan has to change as well. But if that can finally become a thing where quarterbacks come to Auburn to get better and get better at Auburn, that's a big deal because that just hasn't happened over the past decade plus. I mean, quarterbacks have not gotten better at Auburn historically in the last decade or so. If Jackson Arnold can be that, that's a really, really big deal. And it also shines some positive light on what Deuce Knight could do moving forward, other big-time recruits moving forward as well. So really interesting that Hugh Freeze used that language right there.
It is. Looking at that second part of it, he talked about the wide receiver room giving him confidence. Now, you talked about him throwing the walk-ons at Oklahoma. These will not be walk-ons that he's throwing to at Auburn. As a matter of fact, there could be one of the best receiver rooms in the SEC, if not the country. Now, later in the interview, he talked about how the receiver room was pivotal in his decision to choose Auburn. As a matter of fact, he said there were two other schools mainly in contention for Jackson Arnold's services. And, he chose Auburn because he felt like this was the best place that he could win. Winning is going to be what defines this, Jacob. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to pose this question to you. What defines a successful season for Hugh Freeze and Jackson Arnold? Strictly talking about QB. I'm not talking about wins and losses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, QB development has been under the microscope at Auburn predating Hugh Freeze. And quite frankly, the last two coaches have failed at it miserably. You know, how does Hugh Freeze get off that failure list and onto the successful list of being able to develop a QB? What does it have to look like?
Well, I think you got to put the quarterback in positions to win and make the right decisions and put him in situations to be successful. And Hugh Freeze, I'm sure, would tell you on the mic or off the mic that he didn't do that all the time last year. Peyton Thorne was not great at Auburn, but he was not put in great situations either. The Oklahoma game was not on him. I know he threw the pick six and that ultimately led to the loss, but you can't be throwing the football in that situation. You had Jarquez Hunter. You had the game won. Just run the ball. 87,000 fans were telling you that inside the stadium. Maybe you should have listened, right? And so with that, that's what a successful season this year looks like for Hugh Freeze and Jackson Arnold as a head coach quarterback duo is put your guys in situations to be successful. Because what we need from the quarterback spot this year, Mike, is to throw the ball downfield, not turn the ball over, extend plays with his legs. I like that Hugh Freeze said that too. The fact that Arnold has the ability to extend plays. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of, quarterback draws and design QB runs with Jackson Arnold. There could be some, sure, but the idea of the fact that he can at least use his legs when needed is a big deal. But I think that's what it looks like, is just put your guys in a position to be successful. And throwing the football to what I agree with you is one of the best receiver rooms in the country is going to help that. But you can't be operating in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12. That goes to dumb penalties, right? Those pre-snap penalties that coaches talk about all the time. And so that's what a successful season looks like, is can you build that confidence right now, have them be confident, talking about Jackson Arnold here, going into the game against Baylor on a Friday night, and see that build, win or lose. Because my goodness, how many times have we seen a quarterback just get shattered with his confidence after Auburn loses a game because the fan base comes after him, the coaching decisions are being questioned, and then it just seems like there's no recovery. That's where coaching comes in, and you convince your guys that they can do it whether you win or lose last week. You have to shake that off and move into the next game. And so that's all on Hugh Freeze. That's on this coaching staff this year. But luckily, you're working with a guy in Jackson Arnold who's been there, done that. He's got experience in the college game, and I think all of that is going to help him tremendously.
There was an interesting comment. We don't have the clip, but talking about the run game and running the ball, and that he doesn't want to shy away from running the ball, but he doesn't want to run against bad boxes, as he termed it. But certainly just run the ball is going to be something that you're going to hear people scream because of what happened last year. And they've got to find a way to find a balance in the formula that puts it all together. But look, part of this equation has been what the pieces that they put around them. We talked about wide receiver. We're going to rate all the other pieces they put around Jackson Arnold after a quick word from our friends at the Vibe Vault. The weekend is coming up. It's always coming up, and you want to be fresh for the weekend. Go visit our friends at the Vibe Vault, not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite I in Phoenix City, Alabama. That's on Highway 431, right across the street from Chattahoochee Valley Community College and next to the Renfro's Supermarket and Marco's Pizza. The Vibe Vault, helping keep the community fresh. Also, our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever else you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. Our friend Richard, longtime sponsor of the show, we appreciate him for helping keep us going. And our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights, and code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamado grills. Golden's Cast Iron, keeping you outside, work out, grill out, chill out with Golden's Cast Iron. Let's jump back in. It's not just receiver, it's offensive line. Auburn projects to run more 10 and 11 personnel this year, which means that you're going to need better pass protection than you had before in the past. They were pretty middling last year in terms of pass protection, had some okay games, had some bad games, but I would rate it a little bit below average. Tight end, we've had some turnover there at tight end that we've seen Auburn's going to have to deal with. And then, the running back room, which probably we've heard the least about, but maybe because there are the least questions about Jeremiah Cobb and Damari Alston. How do you rate the pieces around Jackson Arnold this fall? Does he have a B team, a B plus team, an A team? How do you rate the job they've done just putting things around him for him to work with?
Yeah, I mean, I think the letter that pops into my mind is like a B plus, right? Because you work with this at different positions and you kind of average everything out. Your receivers are an A or A plus. I mean, Eric Singleton was the best wide receiver in the transfer portal. He's expected to be the next KLS, bring him in, be the man, go and get drafted to the NFL. Plus, you still have Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, all those young puppies in there that are going to just be awesome this year. So the receiver room is as high as it gets, A or A plus. Then you start talking, you mentioned the offensive line. I got to see a little bit more. It was okay last year. Wasn't great. Wasn't terrible, but it's got to get better. And so I put it for now just as a C or a C plus, because we still have to see exactly what it's going to look like, what that rotation is going to look like. Do they excel in pass pro? Do they excel in run blocking? What will be their forte this year? We have to wait and see. So I put that as just kind of an average right now. You mentioned the tight ends. I mean, God, the turnover there has just been incredible, but I think there's some talent there, and I would love for Auburn to get back to using the tight end, at least in goal-to-go situations or, inside the red zone, inside the 10, right? I mean, just something like that to where they're at least a threat, to where the defense at least has to respect what the tight end does. And then the running back room, I think, is a B. That's where I put that right now, with potential to grow. You can raise that average by a lot this year if Damari Alston becomes the next coming of Jarquez Hunter, if Jeremiah Cobb gets used in the way I think he should, if you use guys like Darrell Robinson, the UConn transfer, who we get to see what he looks like. And then Alvin Henderson from Elba. I mean, you have a solid group at the running back spot. So what is that? An A plus, a B, a C, and you kind of just average that out. And that's kind of where I go, is about a B or a B plus, which is good enough to win, Mike. But that's got to get a little bit better. You have potential for the offensive line room to grow, the tight end room to grow, the running backs rooms could get better, and the deck will be then stacked for Jackson Arnold to have a successful season. So, yeah, I would put it at around a B or a B plus right now for what is around Jackson Arnold to be successful this fall.
Yeah, it's interesting. The offensive line will be one of a common theme that we talk about here in this discussion. Now, you brought in Xavier Chaplin and Mason Murphy to bolster that line. Some guys we know. Connor Lew should be one of the better centers in the SEC next year. We saw him in his freshman campaign make a big jump. But to me, Jacob, it's going to come down to pass protection. Can they protect Jackson Arnold and give him the time? Because Hugh Freeze really believes that he has the receivers, that if they have the time to throw the ball, you can just throw it up to these guys and they're going to get it. That's the kind of receiver room he feels like he has. And so if Jackson Arnold is moderately accurate, this should be a really good season for them in the passing game, which should open up some things in the run game. Great conversation. Jacob Goins, before we get out of here, as always, man, I want to thank you for joining me. Tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, you can listen in the Auburn Opelika area, ESPN 106.7 on your radio dial, or across the state, across the country, ESPNAU.com. We have 7 straight hours of local sports talk radio. I'm squeezed right in the middle, 2 to 4 on the line, 2 to 4 each and every day on ESPN 106.7 and ESPNAU.com.
Guys, that's it for another great edition of the Auburn Express, powered by War Report. Again, thank you so much for making us your first listen of every day. If you want more content like this, please hit like and subscribe. We are the War Report on every social media platform. TW Report on TikTok. We're signing off, and as always, worry.